Just 1 week after the third gameplay reveal, we get ourselves another one. And guys, this one is packed with information. So we're gonna jump right into it and go over all the things you might have missed, and of course, cover all that new information. The main takeaway from this trailer is going to be showing off the final 2 classes. Now, we already know about the Stabomancer and the Berserker in the second trailer, but this one is focused on the Spellshot and the Clawbringer. The Spellshot is a wizard who can unleash a constant barrage of spells and bullets, so looking at the trailer, it looks like we're going to be able to dual wield spells. So your right hand can cast something while your left hand does something else. This is very similar to Zane from Borderlands 3, in which you have 2 action skills at the same time, but instead of action skills, you have spells. I think that is pretty cool and will spice up the gameplay quite a bit. Now, as for your action skill, well, you're gonna have Polymorph. We've seen the action skill teased a little bit in the previous trailers, but now we see it in full action. So for the Polymorph action skill, you can snap your finger and turn your enemies into livestock. In this case, you're turning enemies into something called Skeep, and Skeep are a combination of a skag and a sheep. At this point in time, we don't know if there's gonna be anything extra to it. Like, does the enemy just float away as a Skeep, or can we shoot them to get items or something? We don't know yet. The final thing we know about the Spellshot is that you can enhance your spells and imbue your weapons. That could be what we're seeing here with the red aura. When the Spellshot uses it, you can see these red particles coming towards the player. We do know from a previous trailer we saw the Spellshot sprinkling some stuff onto their gun, so it's likely you collect it from the enemy and then you choose to put it on your spell or sprinkle it onto your gun. So we're gonna have better spells and we can upgrade our weapons. Up next, they revealed the name of the Clawbringer, and we've seen this a little bit in the previous trailers in which you have a large hammer. We do know this hammer has a long wind-up time, but when it hits the battlefield, they're gonna feel it. You can slam this hammer down into a huge area of effect. Also with the hammer, you can chuck it and then call it back when you want to, so you are gonna have range and also what looks to be an area of effect damage around the hammer. Now, this damage bubble could be a skill in your skill tree, so we don't know if that's just gonna be the default, but nonetheless, this thing is gonna be pretty awesome. Not only that, you have a fire-breathing Wyvern companion too. I am assuming this will be the action skill since it is a hand casting kind of animation. The final thing mentioned in these notes is that you have a Dragon Aura power, and with this power, you can cast it on your whole entire party and give them more damage and more. So this character will be co-op friendly too. One final thing we saw in the trailer is that the shroom enemies will be camouflaged. So whenever you see mushrooms on the ground, be wary. The shroom enemies could pop up out of them at any time. As for the goblins, it is said they're going to be pretty weak enemies, but they will come at you in large numbers. They are also really good at long range, so it might be best to do close quarter combat. As for the trolls, these guys are the complete opposite, so they will be a massive tank and specialize in close quarter combat. Obviously, keep your range and take them out. Oh, it's also mentioned that some of them can cast spells too. Moving on here to the co-op, it will follow a similar system to Borderlands 3, so you will be able to set an easier or hard mode, as well as loot instance on or off. If you're not familiar, loot instance is a feature in the game in which all players get their own drops. So let's say you open a chest, you will have your drops and your co-op partner will have their drops. You won't have to fight over loot. As for the guns, it is mentioned here that they have a huge assortment of parts, so I assume it's going to follow what they did for Borderlands 3. Alright, on to the damage types. We have a new element, so first off we have fire, we have frost, which is cryo, lightning, which is shock, poison, which will probably be corrosive, and then a new one called dark magic. So when we take on the enemy, we'll have to look at their health bar and determine which element to use. If it follows what they did in the previous Borderlands game, we'll have the blue bar for shock, so their shield, the red bar for HP, which will be weak to fire, a yellow bar which is weak to corrosive, which will be poison in this case. As for frost, or aka cryo, it would make sense to have an element for melee because, as we know, melee is going to be a huge part of this game. Going back to dark magic, I do have a thought in mind. Maybe this will be a debuff element in which you get more damage on spells. We don't know much more about the new damage types, so we'll have to wait and see on that. The next thing here is the wards. Obviously, the wards are going to be the replacement for shields, so the wards will be a good way to protect your HP. Now we have the rings and amulets, and we already saw these in the previous trailers, and we know it's the replacement for relics and artifacts like in the previous games. Rings will give you a flat boost to your loadout, like increasing action skill duration, magazine size for a given gun type, companion damage, and many more. However, amulets will give you special effects, like a chance to instantly reload your equipped weapon with a melee hit, and it will increase things like your class power and damage too. The final thing mentioned here is that the typical rarities will be returning, so we know there's going to be white, green, blue, purple, and legendary rarity. As for additional rarities, we don't know anything about that just yet. Anyways, that's going to be it for all the new information we got today, so be sure to let me know below in the comments what you guys think about all this. I would like to hear what you guys have to say. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, then please be sure to leave a like because that'd be awesome, and if you really enjoyed it, be sure to sub. You guys have a great day, and I will see you all later. Peace out.